and Terry McLaurin. Now, I have said I pay Terry. Terry signed a contract a couple years ago, but it's time for the big one. I think he's an elite. He's Amon St. Brown. He's really an elite receiver. And so I have loved everything Washington has done. But it's really funny. We've talked about this. Windows, you see it now in the NBA. Like 7 different champions in 7 years. The Denver Nuggets got old and expensive really fast. Everybody loves Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City just paid those 3 young guys $822 million combined. No more bench. These windows in the NFL close. The Niners, for 3 years in a row, had a stacked roster. Now they're peeling off Hufanga and Greenlaw. And they're good players. Debo's gone. They're good players getting old fast. The Detroit Lions were like, yeah, this is just the beginning for the Detroit Lions. No, you lost both great coordinators. You lost Ragnow, a Pro Bowl center. And oh, by the way, your young studs, a couple of them, going to be getting paid here. So you can look at Jayden Daniels going, just going into year 2. Jayden Daniels, the bargain is going to be Jayden Daniels, the Brinks truck in about 2 years because you're paying him early. So, and my take is he's healthy, he's young. Cliff Kingsbury. What if Kingsbury after this year leaves and you miss on a coordinator or the one you want turns you down, right? There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league, a lot of good coordinators. When you're a good offensive coordinator, you don't leave a good situation. You go get a head job. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is a bit of a gift. That's a way better than average offensive coordinator. So this stuff gets, I mean, it's strike when the iron is hot. I just sign him, get it done, move on. Do not waste September. I mean, remember the Legion of Boom became the Legion of Bust about 2 years in. I thought that thing was going to last forever. I was a Seattle homer. I thought we have it. I've said it on the air 10 times. We got a dynasty.
Yeah. Listen, this is what I've talked about a lot, and especially with the Commanders, about, this whole idea of a window and what does a Super Bowl window mean. And that's why it all depends on how well run of a franchise you are to your core. And that windows are always kind of like moving. But it is fair to say, although I don't see a window in a traditional sense, as a lot of these guys talk about it, like the window's open and then it closes, I see it more as kind of like, if we look at like a 3-year window, you're not your chance to win a Super Bowl, but on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 obviously being the best, 0 being the worst, it's like you were at 95, 95, 95, and then in these later years, you might drop down to like 90. Or 85. And if you're a very well-run team, you can find your way back up to like 90, 95, et cetera, et cetera. That it's not like you was well open and then it was closed. And I got in a whole argument with someone about the Detroit Lions when, they started getting some injuries, and I was like, oh, like this is the window right now. Like this is your maximal chance to win, especially when you're looking at some of the age of some of these players and the coordinators and Ben Johnson, especially with Ben Johnson, because this offense is so much run through Ben Johnson that like, you got to go for it now. And he was like, that's ridiculous. You don't want to do that. We're building a 10-year window. And it was just like, what are you talking about? Like in the existence of the NFL, like it's pretty much just been like the Patriots and the Chiefs and like, I guess maybe the Cowboys to a degree where you have this like huge window. But like, you think you could just casually create that? You can't. It's absurd. Not even close. In a lot of ways, one of the closest you can get to, and sorry, Commanders fan, is like what the Eagles did. Where they had, where they were able to win in 2017 and then win again in, get to a Super Bowl again 5 years later in 22 and then win. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's like, that's the closest you can get. But this idea that you just are going to have a chance to win year after year after year after year, it's just not the way how it typically works. And the only time that ever even comes close to working is if you have a historically great quarterback and a historically great coach combined together and they're well run. And ownership and GM, like everyone's on the same page. And you got to have luck with injuries. And you got to have luck with the division and the overall landscape of the NFL. I've talked about this so much, and especially recently, that a team like the Patriots and the Chiefs were able to feast on terrible divisions, that massively helps you. So many times does that lead to a first round bye, one less playoff game, home field advantage. Like, it just helps you tremendously. That is not necessarily the luxury that the Commanders have at all right now. At all. And the Philadelphia Eagles are a very well-run team. So even in a time when if Jalen Hurts ends up just being like an absolute, he just falls off a cliff next year, right? And it's just like, oh God, he's awful. You can pretty much guarantee in 2-3 years the Eagles will have another great quarterback, another great team. Like, they will not be the New York Giants now for the next decade. That's just not how they are. So it's always going to be a little bit harder. And I've been saying this now a lot, that the NFL floor is higher than it's ever been. I think we are flushed with quarterback talent right now. And so this whole idea of a window, we are going to be so much more at the mercy of your division, of your conference, and health. As well as, are there enough great coaches to help these great quarterbacks? And the Commanders will be at the mercy of their coordinator because you have a defensive head coach. And that is what I also said as soon as you got Cliff Kingsbury. I said, you got to milk it. As soon as I realized that they were getting hired, Cliff Kingsbury, and it was going to be Jayden and Cliff, I said, this is awesome. This is great. I believe they're going to be awesome together and have a lot of success. You probably got like 3 years max, because I believe Jayden Daniels is going to ball, and I believe Cliff Kingsbury is great. And Cliff Kingsbury is absolutely going to take a head coaching job. And some Commanders fans are like, no, they're not. No, he's not. He doesn't want to be a head coach. And it's like, yes, he does. Like, he's already getting paid a ton of money. I don't care. He's going to take a head coaching job. That's how this works. And then it's a big question mark. And I am very consistent in how important I believe coaching to be. Coaching means an insane amount to me. And you guys all know, I believe Jayden Daniels is elite, special. I've been praising that guy from the jump before he ever took a single snap in the NFL. So no one could ever doubt me in my belief of Jayden Daniels. But he needs a great coach as well. He needs a great coach to truly maximize and be special. And for him, it's the offensive coordinator. And so it definitely becomes a trickier game. It really does. It becomes a lot trickier. And I would say, back in a more defensive-led era, with like a Tom Brady, with Bill Belichick, you can make the argument that it would be better to have the defensive head coach, as well as when you are such a brilliant defensive coach, like obviously Bill Belichick is, the way how he worked with Tom Brady and the way how they had their weekly meetings, and pretty much like how Tom put it, he was like, this is exactly how I would stop you, right? Like, that was really kind of iron sharpening iron, as well as what you would need from a Tom Brady and what the options were offensively back then. Now, the way how the roles have changed, the way how philosophy has changed, all the extra layers of mobility and scrambling and all of that, you need I do not think like Tom Brady would have been able to get away with more average offensive coaching in the modern NFL, which is why I think started to, just spin their gears in New England, because now you weren't getting the benefit as much of a Bill Belichick because it was a more offensive driven, and you didn't have the right coach in place to really get things going. And so it's just like, I think offensive coaching now is more important than ever, especially when you have an insanely versatile quarterback like a Jayden Daniels. And so that's why, like, my whole argument is like, just try to win right now. And if you are indeed a well-run franchise, then it won't matter if you overspend a little bit on Terry McLaurin. You have to imagine that he's going to be great for at least another year or two. You have to imagine that. And if the contract ages a little poorly, where the final 2 years you're overpaying for him, you have to be able to trust your ability to navigate that, because that will happen for everyone. That will happen for every great team. And you're either a well-run franchise or you're not. You either kind of got lightning in the bottle, or you know how to consistently build teams. And I promise you, I believe this with Jayden Daniels. If you could win a Super Bowl before he's up for a new contract, I imagine he will want to be smart with his contract. If he doesn't, if they come up short, if they have a year where they just like straight up miss the playoffs, it could happen to anyone. Or they make the playoffs and they get rocked round one, it's a lot easier for him just to be like, I definitely want my money, man. What are we eligible for these days? $300 million? Yep, give it to me. I want it. Let's go. And he might still want that because it's his first contract. I mean, who knows? But if you win a Super Bowl, or dare I say 2 Super Bowls, then you start talking about GOAT chasing. Then you start to say, okay, I'm going to take very smart contracts because I want to keep winning. 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 Like, that's how it works. That is my own personal philosophy when I see what's at stake for truly special quarterbacks, where if you can win, people will start to say, can this guy be the greatest of all time? And if you're in the running for that, everyone knows you got to win rings. You got to win rings. You got to win rings. And it's like we saw Mahomes do it. We obviously saw Tom Brady do it. Now we even see Josh Allen taking a pay cut. Granted, he already got his contract before, so it's definitely a little bit different. But I think that is technically a possibility. I mean, it's, again, to be clear, it's not like I'm saying the guy's going to take like $40 million here, but anything is something. So this is where I really push my chips to the table and say, you're either a well-run franchise or you're not. Like, that's what you're banking on. Don't try to overthink it. You brought in Debo. You brought in Dan Quinn to elevate this defense. Don't make things harder for you offensively. Don't now make Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels have to work this year to overcome the massive piece that they had last season. If Jayden Daniels was in year 5 and Cliff Kingsbury had been coaching Jayden Daniels for 5 years, because make no mistake about it, it's also their connection with each other. Cliff Kingsbury is still figuring out who Jayden Daniels is. And Jayden Daniels is still figuring out who Cliff Kingsbury is. It's very much a dynamic relationship. And so when you're moving all these pieces, a huge piece like a Terry McLaurin, it is a ton of extra work. There's literally will be plays in a playbook that you might say, can't go there. Don't want to do that. Or that's just not going to work now. And especially in years, if we fast forward to the future, you now have more to work off of. And Cliff Kingsbury will be like, I know Jayden doesn't love that when we're missing our true deep threat or our true wide receiver 1. I know we definitely, Jayden has a tendency to do X, Y, and Z. And even Jayden's like, I know Cliff doesn't love to call, these types of plays when we're missing so and so. Like, you start to kind of understand things. They do not have that understanding at all right now because it's year 2. They haven't had to go through the ups and downs of what it's like for career. It's why Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have such a massive advantage together over every other coach quarterback duo, because they've already been through every single type of, combination of factors that an offense could come across. You're now asking Jayden Daniels to deal with all of this in year 2. And it's, I don't think it's smart. I really, really don't. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they officially do. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders, Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin? How do you think this is all going to work? I will emphasize Will Terry's holding doom Commanders. I think that's way too strong, right? I wouldn't say it would doom them. Does it put them in the maximal situation to actually get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl? Does it hurt them? Undeniably, yes, but it won't doom them. It's not the difference between them, competing, being a really good team, competing in, for the playoffs and whatnot, or just nope, they got no chance. We're not going that far, but it's, the Super Bowl is what you're shooting for. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.